Hey guys, welcome back to Meghan Grace DIY. Today's tutorial is part of our Back to Basics series, where we're going to pick one technique and focus on it so you could use it in a later project. What I'm going to show you today is something called the ladder stitch. And the ladder stitch is used, it's a hand sewing stitch, when you've got two folded edges that you need to bring together. Where would you use that? You would use that when you're either closing up a pillow or mending a garment. But the important thing to know for this to work is you have to have a tunnel or a folded edge on both sides. I'm starting with a regular sewing needle and I've got it threaded twice through with a knot at the end. And I've basically created a simulation sample where I'd have two folded sides like I was closing a pillow. I'm starting here by taking my needle and I'm sliding it inside the tunnel, which is the folded edge. I'm going to push my needle up through that edge and pull the thread all the way through. Now, when completing the ladder stitch, we want to make sure we see no thread at all when we're done. I'm going to fold the sample in half so that way you can see the patterning of the thread going back and forth like a ladder, because that thread is going to end up disappearing at the end of the sample. So now that I've come out of one side of the tunnel, I'm going to go across to the other tunnel, slip my needle through, go about 1/4 inch in the tunnel, and pull my thread back out again. When completing this stitch, you normally use a color thread that best matches what you're working on. I'm using pink so that way it stands out and you can see the pattern I'm making with the thread. I'm going to repeat going back and forth between the two folds, slipping my needle through the fold about 1/4 inch and pulling it back out. And you can see those little pink lines that are forming in between the two sides of the fabric. That's where it gets the name the ladder stitch. When you slide your needle through the tunnel, you shouldn't see any thread underneath the fabric. All the thread should be inside the tunnel. And hopefully you can see as I continue down our sample, the pink line's forming, the steps of my ladder are forming, and I'm doing even stitches. Now that I've done enough sample stitches, I'm gonna go ahead and lay the sample flat again. Remember how our goal was to see no thread, and right now we see a little bit of pink? I'm just gonna pull it a little bit tighter, and ta-da! All of our stitches have disappeared. We want the two sides of the fabric brought together nice and smooth with no thread showing. I'm going to speed things up a little bit and finish up this sample just so you can see what it looks like when it's fully complete. You're following a simple pattern back and forth, and you just want to make sure your stitches stay nice and even. And there we go. Our seam is closed, it's nice and flat. If you pull a little bit, you could see that stitching in there, but once I tie the knot off, that seam is nice and strong and it'll stay in place. And now that you've learned the ladder stitch, you can close up any homemade pillows and fix seams on the fly. Thanks again for stopping by Meghan Grace DIY. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial and found it informative and easy to follow. And if you did, make sure you hit that subscribe and the notify button. And if you'd like more content, please feel free to follow me at Meghan Grace DIY at Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest, where I give you lots of fun tips and announce fun contests. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to put them in the comment section below. And as always, happy sewing!